Dennis Taylor is known for his big smile and famous comeback, but some players brought out a very different side of him. These rivals didn't just challenge his game, they pushed his nerves, his patience and his calm to the limit. Here are 5 players Taylor could barely stand. Steve Davis. For Dennis Taylor, Steve Davis became much more than a competitor. He was the cold machine that nearly broke Taylor's spirit, shot by shot, frame by frame. Their rivalry hit its peak during the 1985 World Championship final, a match that became snooker legend. Davis was everything Taylor wasn't. Taylor fed off crowd energy and emotion. Davis played like a robot that couldn't make mistakes. His perfect precision created a mental battle Taylor struggled to win. Davis showed almost no feeling when the match changed, no joy when he got ahead, no anger when Taylor fought back, just cold, perfect snooker. Taylor later said that Davis's calmness got inside his head. Watching Davis stay cool after losing a big frame felt like playing someone who couldn't be shaken. The famous black ball finish in their 1985 final became the ultimate test.
As Taylor, for the first time, becomes Embassy World Snooker Champion.
Taylor potted it at past midnight, winning 18 frames to 17. But the mental fight against Davis left deep marks. Off the table, the two men respected each other, but during matches, their battles were ice cold. Davis ruled the 80s, so Taylor constantly had to prove himself against the best. Every match felt like climbing a mountain against a player who never messed up. Davis wasn't the only rival who shook Taylor. Another one did it in a completely different way. Alex Higgins. Alex Higgins was pure chaos. Brilliant, explosive, wild, and impossible to ignore. Taylor and Higgins had a tricky friendship, mates off the table but sources of stress during matches. Higgins had a temper that exploded without warning. His fights with referees, opponents, and even fans created tension wherever he played.
Nominate green.
26. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
For Taylor, facing Higgins meant dealing with more than just his snooker skills. It meant preparing for emotional explosions, mid-match meltdowns, and the constant worry that something would go wrong.
And that shows up in safety play as much as it does in potting and positional play. And Alex Higgins, I realised very quickly, was one of the few players, if not the only player, where I really felt like I was the underdog tactically.
Taylor looked up to Higgins. How could he not? Higgins changed to snooker with his speed and style, but respect didn't mean trust. During matches, Taylor never knew which Higgins would show up. The genius who could pot any ball, or the angry character who might fall apart mid-frame.
Well, yes, he's got to try and move something there.
Their talks were often funny but wild. Higgins brought energy that rattled opponents, not through planning like Davis, but through pure chaos. The Irish and Northern Irish rivalry added extra fire to their meetings, with crowd split and feelings running hot.
And Alex comes forward, congratulates Dennis, who at his 10th attempt becomes the best.
Taylor respected Higgins' talent, but matches against him felt draining in a different way. Not because of tactical pressure, but because of the emotional ride Higgins created. Every frame could go anywhere. Facing the human volcano meant being ready for anything, and that wildness tested Taylor in ways few other players could match. Cliff Thorburn. If Steve Davis was a machine, Cliff Thorburn was a snail. Slow, careful, and totally relentless. For Dennis Taylor, who loved rhythm and speed, facing Thorburn felt like being stuck in the mud.
And it's absolutely perfect.
Thorburns' grinding style killed Taylor's flow. Matches against him turned into slow wars, where every frame stretched into mental torture. Thorburn took forever on every shot, thinking about angles, checking risks, and deliberately slowing the game to suit his careful approach. Taylor openly joked about how Thorburn's pace drove him mad. Waiting for Thorburn to play his shot felt like watching grass grow, and staying focused during those long waits tested Taylor's patience more than anything else.
You and I had 2 conversations. I mean, I played him about, 30 times or something. 2 conversations, and then in Australia, you said to me 19 years later, you said, "Hey, Cliff," and I turned around and I felt like saying to you, now what do you want?
The style clash between them couldn't have been bigger. Taylor wanted fast, flowing frames where instinct and crowd energy pushed him forward. Thorburn wanted slow chess matches where patience and precision won out. When these two styles crashed, Taylor found himself trapped in Thorburn's tempo, unable to control the match's speed.
How do you think this fares? Would you have preferred it here or not?
Well, there's more money, but we always go back to that. But this is truly phenomenal. When the players are introduced, I get a little nervous for them when they're walking down the stairs. I still don't get that with the cues and people touching them.
Their famous slow matches became tests of staying power, not physical strength, but mental toughness. Could Taylor stay sharp during long frames that stretched his focus to breaking point? Could he keep cool when Thorburn's slow pace threatened to kill his natural playing style? The player who tested Taylor's patience more than anyone proved that sometimes the toughest opponent isn't the one who beats you with great shots, but the one who won't let you play your game at all. Jimmy White. Jimmy White had something Dennis Taylor could never quite get: everyone's love. Everywhere White played, the crowd went crazy. His wild energy, his attacking style, and his carefree attitude made him snooker's favorite player.
17.
Taylor, facing White often felt like fighting 2 opponents, the player across the table and the roaring crowd behind him. White's fan support was louder and wilder than anyone else's. When Taylor played him at big venues, the atmosphere favored White heavily, making Taylor feel like he was competing in enemy land. Their different personalities made this worse. Taylor was calm, careful, and relied on precision. White was pure chaos, trying shots that seemed impossible and somehow making them work. The crowd loved that wildness, that willingness to risk everything for amazing moments.
This is a tall order against anybody really, but against Jimmy in the form he's been in, it seemed like a mountain. I was very pleased with what I did. But,
you had a brilliant afternoon, let's face it.
It was probably enough of a lead to
Taylor struggled when the audience became White's extra teammate. Snooker needs focus, and hearing thousands of people cheering White's shots made staying concentrated really hard. Every missed chance by Taylor was met with fresh hope from White's fans. Every brilliant shot from White triggered explosions of clapping that shook Taylor's rhythm.
On reflection on the whole game, it's possibly the best match I've ever played in and lost, but by a long way. And rates along one of the greatest matches I've been in anyway.
What's the first time?
Despite the competitive frustration, Taylor respected White a lot. Both men came from poor backgrounds and understood the struggle of professional snooker. But respect didn't make facing the crowd's golden boy any easier. The noise, the energy, the feeling that everyone wanted White to win, it all added pressure. The opponent who made Taylor feel outnumbered showed that sometimes the hardest battles aren't won or lost on the table, but in the hearts of the fans watching. Ray Reardon. Ray Reardon didn't need to shout or explode to beat opponents. He used something much more clever: presence. His quiet mastery of mental tricks made him one of the scariest players Taylor ever faced. Reardon was famous for his tactical brain. He controlled matches not just through great potting, but through timing, body language, and an air of total confidence. Taylor often said Reardon had a presence that affected the whole table. When Reardon was at the table, he owned it. When he sat in his chair, he controlled the speed. These quiet mental tricks were deadly. Reardon knew exactly when to take his time and when to play fast. He understood how to use silence and stillness to worry opponents. Against newer players, Reardon's discipline and planning created a feeling where they felt always one step behind. Taylor felt this himself. Matches against Reardon felt like playing someone who had already figured out every possible outcome. The smiling killer made Taylor feel 2 moves behind before frames even started. That constant mental pressure wore players down. Their tactical battles became lessons in mental warfare. Reardon's scary aura wasn't loud or obvious. It was quiet, constant, and impossible to shake. His smart approach forced Taylor to think differently, to guess moves within moves, and to question his own gut feelings. Facing Reardon meant competing against a mastermind whose best weapon wasn't his cue, but his brain and the mental pressure he created without saying a word. Did Dennis Taylor truly hate these players? Maybe not off camera, but on the table, it sure felt like it. Davis's perfection, Higgins's chaos, Thorburns' snail pace, White's crowd power, and Reardon's mind games pushed him into full competitive fury. These weren't just rivals, they were enemies for the night. Subscribe for more snooker